Hello everyone, this is Aaditya Mehta and you are listening to Personality Development Podcast and I welcome you all to this amazing new season and that is Public Speaking Experiences. And I am going to be joined by my co-host Nityanshi Mody, an anchor, choreographer and an assistant director. But before starting with today's episode, I would first like to thank our sponsors, that is New Image Consulting, a company which is dedicated to help individuals and businesses alike to build their personal brand and live the life to the fullest. With that being said, we are going to start with the episode. You hear this amazing intro music while I bring in Nityanshi Mody. So, hey Nityanshi, how are you doing today?
Very well. How are you, Aditya?
I'm doing super nice and I'm pretty excited to talk to you on this episode and in the future episodes as well of this entire season. But firstly, I would like to ask you something. I gave a very small introduction about you, but I'm sure our listeners would like to know more about you. So please go ahead and give your detailed introduction.
I have been into public speaking from right from my childhood. My mother had put me on stage right from the time I was 3 or 4, and from that time I knew that stage is my place. That is my second home. Be it dramatics, be it anchoring, be it elocutions, poetry recitation, storytelling. So that was my schooling. That was my grooming. That my mother made sure that I had right from when I was 3 or 4 years old. And yeah, so that is when my journey started. हाथ में माइक लेके शुरू हो गई थी 3-4 साल की उम्र में ही. और पूरी स्कूल लाइफ, पूरी कॉलेज लाइफ बहुत मज़ा आया. ड्रामास किए, स्किट्स किए. तो उसी तरह से पब्लिक स्पीकिंग की तरफ जो मेरा प्यार है, इट ग्रू. And then after college, again, my mother being the medium, she told me that why don't you start anchoring? This would be the right time for you. You're in college, and you'll get a good experience. You'll get a commercial experience. Absolutely, because college में जब आप खुद पैसे कमाना शुरू कर देते हो ना, एक जो पॉकेट मनी जब आप खुद के लिए कमाते हो, that feeling is really different. You might earn a very small amount, but that amount is of your hard work. So that feeling is very different, especially when you're in college. So yeah, तब से journey शुरू हुई. And talking about my educational experience, I have done journalism, and I did work as a journalist for a year, entertainment journalist. But मुझे नहीं लगा कि this is something जिसे मैं lifelong carry कर सकूंगी. So which is when I thought that no, maybe entertainment industry is my call, and which is when I switched to direction and production. बट डेफिनेटली जो एक पब्लिक स्पीकिंग का प्यार होता है, जब आप एक खुद ऑन स्टेज होते हो, इन फ्रंट ऑफ द कैमरा, इन फ्रंट ऑफ द स्टेज, addressing an audience of 500 to 2000 to 3000, that feeling is very different. So obviously anchoring to hai hi, that is my first love, but along with that, direction and production is also something that I really really enjoy doing.
Wonderful.
So that's about me.
That's a wonderful introduction right there, and I'm really glad that you have joined this show.
So
And
am I.
first thing which I would like to ask you is, you have done so many great things, but did you ever thought that you will be on the podcast for the entire season with Aditya Mehta? No, it's fine. But just on the podcast.
No, see, podcasting was something which was always there in my bucket list. Because, as a public speaker or as an anchor,
Right.
there are a lot of mediums that you want to, capture or get your hold on. You want to have a command on. That can be radio. For some people, it only can be stage. For some people,
Right.
it's podcasting, or it's, anchoring in front of the camera. So, मेरे mind में भी या मेरी bucket list में भी हर ये चीज़ थी. So, podcasting, obviously being this new age attraction, was definitely something that I thought ki, is something that I have to try. But obviously, पता ही नहीं था कि, आप मुझे मिल जाएंगे. And I can't even believe that it's just 3 months that we know each other and we're already, working with each other. So it's absolutely a great feeling. And you're such an experienced podcaster now. So it is, in fact, I'm glad that, from your experience, I'm sure that, I'll also get to learn a lot. And working
course.
together will obviously be fun.
Of course. Wow. That's a great thing which she said right now. So make sure even you listen to this podcast regularly. Yes, audience, I'm talking to you right now. But going ahead, okay, Nityanshi, as you know, the entire season's name is public speaking experiences. Okay, and in the public speaking experience, as I've mentioned that the entire concept is कि ऐसे कौन से experiences रहे हैं जो embarrassing हुए हैं. Okay, so I'm going to ask certain things about that, and of course I'm going to share mine as well. Okay, because again we are co-host to each other. Okay, so and this is an introductory episode as well. So थोड़ी बहुत चीज़ें हम लोग एक दूसरे से बातें करेंगे, and of course then there will be a list of experts who will be coming. So any experience, any particular experience which you would like to share over here in the air?
सी जब लाइव शोज की आप बात करो ना, सो लाइव शोज में तो यू नेवर नो कि व्हाट कैन गो रॉन्ग, बिकॉज हर बार एक नई ऑडियंस होती है. यू डोंट नो योर ऑडियंस एंड द वॉल्यूम ऑफ द ऑडियंस, द नंबर ऑफ द ऑडियंस. कभी कभार मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ है कि 1,000-2,000 की ऑडियंस, एंड आई एम नॉट जोकिंग, लिटरली 1,000-2,000 की ऑडियंस के साथ मैंने शो किया है के सामने, एंड दैट हैज गॉन लाइक सुपर ग्रेट, लाइक सुपर डुपर सक्सेसफुल. और कई बार ऐसा होता है कि सिर्फ 100-200 लोग होंगे शायद ऑडियंस में, और उसके बावजूद ऑडियंस कम है, आपको पता है दैट यू नो गोइंग टू एड्रेस अ लेसर नंबर ऑफ पीपल, लेकिन फिर भी देयर माइट बी समथिंग दैट हैज जस्ट नॉट वर्कड आउट. बट हैविंग सेड दैट, आई हैव बीन फॉर्चुनेट इनफ कि मेरा कोई भी शो अब तक completely एक embarrassment प्रोडक्ट नहीं रहा है. There has been learnings definitely. From every show you learn some or the other things, be it a good or a bad show. But हाँ, ऐसे पल काफी बार आए हैं जब मुझे लगा है कि यार मैंने तो भाई कमाल जोक मारा है और मैंने बहुत हंसाने वाली बात की, लेकिन why is the audience not laughing? So वो कुछ moments आते हैं. And especially मैंने एंकरिंग बहुत जल्दी शुरू की थी. I was 18 and a half, 19 when I started anchoring. तो उस टाइम पे तो ऐसा था कि एक तो लोगों को कन्विंस करना, लोगों को ऐसा लगता है कि यार ये तो बच्ची है, ये क्या कर लेगी, कैसे इतना पावरफुली कैप्चर कर पाएगी सबका अटेंशन, एंड हाउ विल शी बी एबल टू एंटरटेन द ऑडियंस. सो इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू कन्विंस at that age that no, I can deliver as much as an experienced host can. So I'm fortunate to all those people who trusted me, and who gave me the opportunity that I could entertain their audience and host their shows. सो या मोस्टली तो वही डर होता था मुझे. कभी भी स्टेज पर जाने से पहले 5 मिनट पहले तक देयर वर बटरफ्लाइज इन माय स्टमक, थिंकिंग कि यार आज ऑडियंस हंसेगी कि नहीं, या आज मैं उनको एंटरटेन कर पाऊंगी कि नहीं, क्योंकि मुझे हमेशा ये एंजाइटी होती है कि यार कोई एक भी फेस जो है ना वो बोर्ड हुआ मुझे नहीं दिखना चाहिए आफ्टर आई फिनिश माई इवेंट. एवरी फेस शुड बी हैप्पी. सम पीपल माइट कम टू मी, सम पीपल माइट नॉट, saying कि it was a good show or bad, but उनके चेहरे पर मुझे नहीं दिखना चाहिए. चेहरे पर दिख गया ना तो मेरी तो कमाई सारी वहीं मुझे लगता है कि डूब गई.
Right.
So that way.
That's a wonderful thinking.
Yeah. But what about you? Tell me your experience. You have been you've been podcasting and hosting for so long.
Right.
What has been your most embarrassing moment?
Well, for me, I believe the most embarrassing one was the first public speech which I ever gave, and that was just for 3 minutes. Okay. So in my college, where I was in Gokhale College, and it was just a 3-minute speech, okay, and I have to explain something related to accounting standard, maybe 09 or 10, I don't know. It was related to fixed assets. Now, all I had to do is explain a very simple concept within 3 minutes, okay, and since I was the guy in college, I was trying something new that year, that I always will go to someone else and introduce myself. So everyone thought that I'm an extrovert, but I wasn't. Okay. And in that year, everyone thought that I am the one who will do a good public speaker. Okay, who will be a good public speaker. Everyone thought that. So in my group, everyone was like, "Arey, kuch tips de." And I was like, I was giving it as well. Okay, I'm like, मैं शर्मा भी नहीं रहा था कि I am doing this for the very first time as well. And when my turn came, and सामने मुझे 150 जन दिखे, 150 people live, and I froze. Okay, I was not speaking actually even a single word. Okay, I can't speak it. Okay, I was like so blank. And then there were people behind me, जो 4 जन मेरे group में थे. Okay, those one after the other, they were giving me certain hints so that I can speak in front of the audience, right? And at the end, being in college, your friends are basically, they are out to get you as well most of the time. So they are like, क्या यार तू इतना बोल रहा था, तेरा खुद का पोपट हो गया, and so on like that, right? But I'm sure after that day I thought I'm never going on the stage, okay, because I was that embarrassed and I really didn't wanted to go on stage. But life gives you different challenges at different times. So I believe those were the things which came in and it changed me completely. But that's I'm going to share in this episode itself. So audience, stay tuned over here. Coming back to you, as you mentioned that at the age of 18 and 19, okay, it becomes difficult for you to convince people that you're going to be as good as any professional public speaker and anchor. Did that give you any sort of performance pressure? That's number one. And how was the first public speaking experience which you had under this performance pressure of yours?
परफॉर्मेंस प्रेशर तो आई एम टेलिंग यू हर शो के पहले होता है. तो डेफिनेटली बिफोर माई फर्स्ट वेरी फर्स्ट प्रोफेशनल शो था ही. एंड आई रिमेंबर इट वाज अ बर्थडे पार्टी. एंड बिकॉज आई एम श्योर मोस्ट ऑफ द एंकर्स दे स्टार्ट बाय डूइंग दीज स्मॉल बर्थडे इवेंट्स एंड दीज एनिवर्सरी इवेंट्स एंड दीज मैजिक शोज एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. So it was a birthday party, and I think they were brothers. And it was in a very small venue. It was a family event, and they made me very comfortable. And बहुत मजा आया. Obviously बहुत डर था शुरू करने से पहले, because first time मैं इस चीज़ के लिए मैं हमेशा से बहुत शौकिया तौर पे इसको करती आई हूँ. And I love this the most. So I have to be good at it. And बोलते हैं ना कि first impression is the last impression, or is the most important impression. तो मुझे ये था कि I cannot go wrong with this. एंड बट बहुत अच्छा हुआ. ऑब्वियसली आप थोड़ी बहुत गलतियां करते हो, विच यू देन रियलाइज जब आप घर आके अपने वीडियोस देखते हो तो आपको पता चलता है कि ओके नहीं, यहाँ मैं सही हो सकती थी, या अगर बच्चों के साथ डील कर रहे हैं तो शायद ये मैं बेटर कर सकती थी. तो अगेन आई विल एक्चुअली repeat myself when I say this, but my mother honestly has been a very consistent influence on me when it comes to my work, when it comes to my public speaking. आज भी जब मैं कोई इवेंट करके आती हूँ, 4-5 साल हो गए मुझे काम करते हुए, मुझसे पहले वो मेरा काम देखती हैं, वो मेरे वीडियोस देखती हैं, एंड शी मेक्स श्योर pays attention to every detail. And वो मुझे बताती हैं this is where you could have gone right, be it from the way I present myself, to the way I'm talking, to the way I am pronouncing my words also. She's that particular. So उससे मुझे बहुत help हो जाती है.
Right.
To work on myself.
I'm sure when your mother sees this podcast as well, she'll have a lot of info for me as well.
Oh, no, not at all. But she's very critical.
She is critical, and she is really a very, I have seen your mom on Instagram, and I believe she's the most fun-loving person. Okay, and I'm sure she's more younger than you by mind. Okay, but yeah, I mean that's something which I would like to say out loud, and I'm pretty sure it's really tough to have those kind of cool moms in these scenarios, in today's scenario. So I'll say you're the lucky one. Coming back to this episode, as you mentioned about your first public speaking experience, okay, and it was basically on a birthday party. What actually went wrong over there? Okay, did anything went wrong, or it was just like at the end someone gave you a feedback, or what was it?
अब जितना मुझे याद आ रहा है मुझे, क्योंकि वो पूरी इवेंट क्लियरली याद है. वो कभी भी अपना बोलते हैं ना कि फर्स्ट लव, फर्स्ट रिलेशनशिप, या पहला काम, पहला पेचेक, ये सब भूलते नहीं हो. तो मेरा फर्स्ट एंकरिंग एक्सपीरियंस मुझे पूरा स्टार्ट टू एंड याद है. शायद पता नहीं कितना सही या गलत लगेगा सुनने में, बट आई डोंट थिंक एनीथिंग एज सच वेंट रॉन्ग, क्योंकि मैं अपना पूरा एक फर्स्ट शो था, लेकिन फिर भी मैं पूरा प्रिपेयर होके गई थी. एवरीथिंग वाज ऑन पेपर, एंड आई ट्राइड टू फॉलो एवरीथिंग. मतलब कौन सी गेम किस गेम के बाद आएगी, व्हेन आई हैव टू इंट्रोड्यूस द बॉयज, व्हेन व्हाट हैज टू बी डन. इट वाज अ स्मॉल 2-hour इवेंट, बट स्टिल आई वाज सो प्रिपेयर्ड कि मुझे पता था कि एटलीस्ट मैं अगर ऑन पेपर फॉलो करूंगी तो मैं गलत नहीं जाऊंगी. तो आई डोंट थिंक कि anything went wrong, but obviously you are an amateur at that time. बहुत चीजें होती हैं when it comes to how you are addressing your audience. जो seniors हैं उनको आप कैसे एड्रेस करते हो, बच्चे हैं उन्हें आप कैसे एड्रेस करते हो. तो जो आपका बात करने का तरीका है, लैंग्वेज है, और एक जो ठहराव है बात करने में. when you're young you have that energy, you just want to kill it, और आप में वो एक ठहराव नहीं होता है. एज एन एक्सपीरियंस आता है एक एक करके, वो ठहराव आता है आपके अंदर. तो अगर आज मैं अभी का अपना कोई लेटेस्ट इवेंट का वीडियो देखूंगी वर्सेस मैं अपनी फर्स्ट इवेंट का वीडियो देखूंगी, ऑब्वियसली बहुत डिफरेंस होगा. क्योंकि तब मैं बोलते ना कि एक यंग एनर्जी के साथ मैं वहां पर गई हूँ, थोड़ी लाउड भी रही होंगी, बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली दैट वाज एज, मे बी दैट वाज नॉट इवन अ फॉल्ट, दैट वाज दैट टाइम. बट विद एक्सपीरियंस यू लर्न अ लॉट. सो मुझे लगता है वही छोटी छोटी चीजें थी जो तब आपको पता नहीं होती है, और विद एक्सपीरियंस आप सीखते हो.
Understood. I mean, I'm completely loving this conversation. I can relate that as well, because when I listened to my very first podcast, which I did back in 2020, I can still see like how bad it was. Okay, but for the people, it's too good, and they really appreciated me for the first 9 episodes or 10 episodes which I did. although they were not very perfect, okay, but still they really appreciated that the sound were completely echoing. I was using a 20 rupee earphone from the train, okay, but I can completely understand what, comes after is always a little better product of the previous one. So that's wonderfully said.
But Aditya, I'm sorry to cut you
Sure.
here, but that is the problem with creative people.
हाँ.
आप बहुत ज़्यादा कंस्ट्रक्टिव हो जाते हो अपने काम को लेकर. Even if you people might think that you have done a good job, but you will never be satisfied with your own work. Even if you have done like a say 100% superb show, but you will always find some or the other mistake in that show because वो आपके माइंड में फिट हो गया है कि नहीं यार वो परफेक्शनिज्म के पीछे आप इतना दौड़ने लगते हो ना कि काम कभी कभी बहुत अच्छा होते हुए भी आपको लगता है कि नहीं मैं कहाँ खामी ढूंढूं. That's just inbuilt. That's a problem with people in the creative field, and that's the problem with artists.
Manufacturing defect.
You can say that. वो क्योंकि मेरे साथ भी हमेशा I face that problem. I'm never satisfied with my work, which sometimes can be a good thing also because then you're chasing perfection, you're chasing one level up. You always want to go एक step ऊपर. तो उससे वो भी कई बार help हो जाती है.
Correct.
और कभी कभी उल्टा भी हो जाता है कि आप अपने आप को बहुत ज़्यादा प्रेशर में डाल देते हो. तो दोनों चीज़ों के बीच में बैलेंस ही ढूंढना पड़ता है.
Wonderful. So there is a very thin line between, just learning from the things and not being sad about the things which you have done, and always chasing for perfection is always, everyone is doing that and still there is no perfection, right? But still we are looking for that, okay? And I completely relate with that as well because even I am not satisfied with myself most of the times. But yeah, I mean, we do have to learn a lot, and but at the same time we shouldn't be sad about what we gave, and we should always celebrate that. I feel that's what you want to say.
Absolutely.
Right? Wonderful. One last question for this introductory episode. So I'm definitely going to share my story as well, which I was supposed to share, but before that I would like to ask you this question. That is, if there are certain people out there who has this emotion and a strong determination that they are never going back on the stage, or they are never going on a stage. If even someone is, telling them or saying them that boss tu aa ja stage pe, okay, then they don't want to go on stage. Okay, so any message to those people who are really afraid and frightened to go on the stage and speak even their names?
It all comes from building self-confidence. You have to realize that, that is important. In today's time especially, making yourself a brand as an artist or as a public speaker is very, very important. कोई तुम्हारे लिए या तुम्हें ऊपर उठाने नहीं आएगा. It's you who have to do it. और आज के टाइम में जब सोशल मीडिया है, YouTube है, I genuinely feel that it all starts from building self-confidence. Especially आज के टाइम पे, an artist or any public speaker has to make a brand for themselves. आज हम कोई entrepreneur भी लेते हैं, so आप देखिए उनका product बेचने से पहले, they sell themselves. By this what I mean is that you have to be a brand. Only then you can sell your product or your service. And उसके लिए confidence अपने अंदर लाना बहुत ज़रूरी है. You have to get up and say that no, I am capable of doing this. I will do this. And I always say this, that as an artist, the most important thing is preparing yourself in front of the mirror. मिरर से अच्छा और कोई दोस्त नहीं है आपका, स्पेशली जब आप शुरुआत कर रहे हो या जब आप एक नर्वस एनर्जी के साथ, एक एक एंशियस एनर्जी के साथ, व्हेन यू आर स्टार्टिंग ऑफ, कि आपको करना भी है लेकिन आता भी नहीं है, डर भी है, लोग क्या सोचेंगे, that nervous energy is there, that embarrassing. बोलते ना कि कोई आपको embarrass करे उससे पहले आप खुद ही अपने आप से embarrass हो जाते हो कि मुझसे हो ही नहीं पाएगा. वो तब जाएगा जब आप अपने आप को एक assurance दोगे कि नहीं ये मुझसे हो सकता है, और वो तब आएगा जब आप practice करोगे, आप prep करोगे. बचपन से हमें सिखाया जाता है that only practice can make a man perfect. There's a phrase in English that practice and practice makes a man perfect. So you have to actually follow that phrase. टेक अ मिरर, और टेक अपने भाई बहन को लो, दोस्तों को लो, मम्मी पापा को लो, उनको आगे बिठाओ, कोई भी एक छोटा सा पीस, एक छोटा सा मोनोलॉग रेडी करो, एंड प्रैक्टिस करो उनके सामने. 2-3 लाइन, जैसे आपने कहा कि कुछ लोग अपने आप को इंट्रोड्यूस करने से ही बहुत ज्यादा डर जाते हैं. सो वही है कि एंड राइटिंग हेल्प्स अ लॉट. वी ऑलवेज से दैट हम नॉर्मली भी लोगों को सजेस्ट करते हैं कि डायरी राइटिंग करनी चाहिए या कोई भी चीज़ पहले पेपर पे उतारनी चाहिए. जैसे ही कोई चीज़ पेपर पे उतरती है ना, यू शॉर्ट नो दैट ओके दिस इज गोइंग टू वर्क आउट, बिकॉज नाउ एवरीथिंग इज ऑन पेपर इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू. सो सी नाउ आई एम समबडी, मैंने अपने ज़्यादातर शोज या ज़्यादातर इवेंट्स बहुत ही लिमिटेड स्क्रिप्ट में किए हैं या सिर्फ पॉइंटर्स लिख कर किए हैं, बट नाउ दैट माइट नॉट वर्क फॉर एवरीबडी. So it is always advisable and definitely advisable, in fact I would say, have to have a script. Everything has to be on paper. आपको जो भी करना है पहले उसे एक पेपर पे उतारिए.
Right.
Understand that, study that 100 times, and that is how you can start, and then start practicing it. So as I said, mirror is your best friend.
Right.
Practice, practice and only practice. That will help you build your confidence also. और ऐसे लोगों के सामने परफॉर्म कीजिए, ऐसे लोगों के सामने प्रैक्टिस कीजिए जो कि आपको एक कंस्ट्रक्टिव और ऑनेस्ट फीडबैक दे, और साथ ही खराब परफॉर्मेंस किया है तो बोल दे आपके फेस पे ही दैट इट इज नॉट गुड, ये बहुत खराब परफॉर्मेंस था, और साथ ही साथ आपको किन पॉइंटर्स पे वर्क करने की जरूरत है ये भी बताएं.
Okay.
So that's how your journey starts.
Right. That's a wonderful thing. Audience, all I would like to say is, if you are that one person, you can always use the tips which she gave and build your confidence. And especially on this podcast, there are 2 episodes: how to increase your self-confidence and how to practice public speaking at your home. So you can listen to those as well. And on personal branding, like you mentioned, we have an entire season of personal branding as well. Okay. And that is with our sponsors, New Image Consulting. So make sure to listen to that.
And I would also like to add that in today's time, when so much content and information and knowledge is available, your podcast has been there, all your earlier seasons where you just mentioned that you have content on and you have studies on public speaking, personal branding, image building and all of that. तो ये podcast सुन के भी बहुत help मिल सकती है. So, all those artists out there are people like Aaditya, who have such amazing podcasts. So you tune into those podcasts. I'm sure कि वहाँ से भी बहुत knowledge और बहुत help मिल सकती है आपको. So that's a wonderful thing what you're doing,
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
what I would also like to highlight is, I will be co-hosting this season with you and I'm very very excited. But मुझे और भी ज़्यादा अच्छा इस बात के लिए लग रहा है कि especially हमारी जो tagline है इस सीजन की, from embarrassment to empowerment, ये जो tagline है मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया था, on personal chats, कि this is a very very impressive tagline. क्योंकि एक्चुअली ये बहुत लोगों की जर्नी की रियलिटी है, फ्रॉम एम्बैरेसमेंट टू एम्पावरमेंट, एंड होपफुली हमारी जर्नीज की भी यही रियलिटी होगी. बिकॉज एज आई सेड अर्लियर, जैसे आप स्टार्ट करते हो और फिर जब आप एक पोजीशन पर पहुंच जाते हो, दोनों में आसमान जमीन का फर्क होता है. सो इफ यू डोंट हैव दोज एम्बैरेसिंग मोमेंट्स, यू विल नॉट रीच टू दोज empowering positions. So yeah,
that's wonderfully said, Nityanshi. Thank you so much for giving all the love to the podcast, I would say. One thing I would like to highlight is all the experts who are going to come on this show as well, they also have this as a reality in their lives as well. Okay, because each and every great speaker has his or her embarrassing moments as well, and that's how they have become these empowering speakers and motivating speakers as well. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be the most exciting season, and I'm really excited about that as well, because the experts who are going to come, they are also great mentors to me, and they are also very good friends of mine. And these are the people whom I have met very personally in the latest times itself. Okay, so I'm pretty excited to meet them and talk to them more about it. And this has been an amazing episode, amazing introductory episode. But before going ahead to the verge of ending this episode, I would like to share that, as you mentioned about practicing a lot, okay, and I told you that after that first public speaking experience, I would never go on a stage. But I was fortunate enough that life gave me these amazing chances, okay, where I have to get on the stage and I have to speak to a large amount of audience on various topics. And that was on regular basis, like every weekly basis it happened. And today I'm sure that I have done more than 100 presentations till date.
wow.
And now it feels nothing. Okay, there is no pressure at all, right? So I'm sure that all the audience are going to get some amazing insights. And audience, let me tell you this: everyone has this embarrassing moments, and it's fine. Don't worry about it. And you are going to get some amazing stories in this season itself. Some would be funny, some would be emotional, but in all those stories you are going to get the learnings for sure. With that being said, this is Aaditya Mehta along with Nityanshi Mody signing off from this episode. See you in the next one. Till then, peace out.